If you thought SpongeBob was just a silly cartoon about a talking sponge, let me tell you, you still don't know his darker side. SpongeBob left us with many questions and mysteries in his episodes, and that's why such disturbing theories were created that it was impossible to believe they were true. But guess what? Several of these theories were confirmed. So let's take a look at those SpongeBob theories that seem like they're straight out of the deep web, but ended up being real. The secret formula of the Krabby Patty. There's a pretty disturbing mystery that has sparked some very dark theories, and it's about what the heck is in the Krabby Patty. For years, everyone went insanely crazy trying to find out what the secret formula was. Some people said that Mr. Krabs used Pearl's mother's meat, which would explain why she never appears in the episodes. Others claimed that the old crustacean was a serial killer who ground up other crabs to maintain his food empire. There were also the romantics who said the secret ingredient was love, but the more disturbed ones said it was pieces of SpongeBob. Besides, some assumed that the meat was actually Plankton's family. But among all these pretty twisted theories, there was a small group of fans who noticed something very simple and quite obvious. Someone thought that Krabby Patties were made of seaweed. What? And against all odds, that was the correct theory. In 2016, Steven Hillenburg officially confirmed that the Krabby Patty is a vegan burger. It doesn't contain meat or sea creature corpses or anything gross. In fact, Hillenburg always expressed his rejection of unhealthy fast food, which explains why many fans got upset when SpongeBob did his famous collaboration with the fast food chain Wendy's. For many, that was a direct betrayal of the original spirit of the show and its creator's vision. So, no, the Krabby Patty doesn't have mysterious meat. It's made of plants. And still, Plankton keeps failing. How humiliating. Let's move on to the next theory. SpongeBob is autistic. For years, many fans have noticed that SpongeBob doesn't behave like a normal character. Not even similar to the other residents of Bikini Bottom. His obsession with his work routine, his need to do everything exactly the same every day, his extreme sensitivity to certain sounds and situations, and his literal way of interpreting absolutely everything he's told. They made many people start to wonder if his behavior had a deeper explanation. Bob Esponja also often misses obvious social cues, doesn't understand sarcasm, and gets easily overwhelmed when something disrupts his daily routine. All of this led to everyone creating a theory for years that, for many, explained all of this behavior from the sponge. Bob Esponja could be on the autism spectrum. What for a long time was just a fan interpretation ended up becoming canon in July 2024. Tom Kennedy, the official voice of Bob Esponja, publicly confirmed that the character is indeed on the autism spectrum. But not only that, he explained that this condition is actually his superpower. Tom Kennedy compared Bob Esponja to real people, saying that everyone turns their own characteristics into strengths, and in the case of Bob Esponja, that's what makes him so unique, persistent, and genuine. After this, many scenes took on a new meaning and Bob stopped being just the weird and kind of dumb one in the group. And he became one of the most honest and well-developed characters in the entire animation. Bikini Bottom is a television show. And now we've reached one of the sickest, most disturbing, and most extreme theories in all of SpongeBob, the television show theory. This theory became extremely popular in 2021, and it suggests something quite unsettling. Bikini Bottom isn't a real world, but rather a completely constructed television set, very much like The Truman Show. According to this idea, everything we see is scripted and controlled. And many of the characters, including Mr. Krabs and Sandy, would be paid actors strategically placed so that SpongeBob never discovers the truth. And one of the strongest pieces of evidence appears when the narrator of the series stops being just a voice. In the episode No Free Rides, the narrator appears physically and is run over by SpongeBob's car. At that moment, it's revealed that he's a real human with full camera and diving equipment, which suggests that he's documenting life in Bikini Bottom as part of a production. There's another detail that was always really strange. The human hands that constantly appear throughout the series, hands that help, arrange objects, or intervene when something goes wrong. According to the theory, these hands belong to the production team, making sure that Bob Esponja doesn't get damaged, and considering that Bob Esponja is a franchise valued at approximately $13.7 billion, the idea that he's hyper-protected doesn't sound bad at all, but the ultimate proof comes in the episode Stuck in the Freezer from Season 6. There, Bob Esponja, Patricio, and Calamardo get lost in the ventilation ducts of the Krusty Krab and end up discovering a secret room that Mr. Cangrejo keeps hidden. Inside this room, there are live recordings of practically every, and I mean every, house in Bikini Bottom. When the characters realize they're being watched, two members of the recording crew literally appear, trapped, filming them, making it very clear that their whole world is being filmed. After that episode, most of the community accepted this theory, with no more excuses. There are some attempts to discredit it, but honestly, how can we deny all of this? Bikini Bottom is just a cage for all these fish, and after discovering that Bikini Bottom could literally be a television set, we have the following theory. Bob Esponja is immortal. Yes, just like you heard, Bob Esponja not only survives explosions, crushings, and a lot of bullying caused by Calamardo, he also seems to never be able to die. One of the oldest pieces of evidence comes from the classic episode SB, 129 from the first season. There, Calamardo, fed up with Bob Esponja and Patricio, decides to hide in the freezer of the Krusty Krab, looking for a bit of peace. The problem is that when he is thawed, he ends up traveling through time and arrives in a distant future, where he meets Bob Esponja and other Bob Esponjas. But that's not the most disturbing part. In that same episode, it is also shown that Bob Esponja already existed since prehistoric times. Literally, we see him in the caveman era, spending time with Patricio while the world was just beginning. And here comes the ultimate proof. Calamardo teaches primitive Bob Esponja how to catch jellyfish. Thousands of years later, the present-day Bob Esponja thanks him for inventing that game.
Does that mean you want to go jellyfishing?
Who was the blockhead who invented that stupid game?
You, Squidward!
That makes it very clear that we're not seeing different versions of the character, but the same SpongeBob existing through time. And if that wasn't enough, this isn't the only time they rub the idea of his immortality in our faces. In other episodes, it's shown that SpongeBob can live forever, either as an immortal sponge floating through the universe, or even as a strange glass bubble with wheels, as seen in episode PL 1413. And let's be honest, when you have a franchise worth billions of dollars, no company is going to let their golden goose die. Which makes this theory not only inevitable for the story, but also for Nickelodeon's wallet. SpongeBob doesn't age and doesn't even disappear. He even gets younger like a vampire. Before we get to the last theory, first some honorable mentions. Patrick is secretly intelligent. For years, Patrick has been seen as the dumbest character in the series, but many fans have pointed out something unsettling. Patrick isn't stupid, he's manipulative. Throughout the series, there are several moments where he shows surprising intelligence. But the clearest example appears in the episode The Secret Box, from the second season. In that episode, Patrick psychologically controls SpongeBob throughout the whole episode, playing with his anxiety and curiosity just for fun. In the end, Patrick reveals that inside his secret box there was only a piece of string, but he also hints that there is a hidden compartment with an embarrassing photo of SpongeBob. It was all a perfectly calculated manipulation. And if that's not the behavior of someone enjoying playing with his best friend's mind, he's a miserable psychopath. Squidward is a misunderstood musical genius. The second honorable mention is one of the saddest. For years, most people made fun of Squidward for thinking he was a great artist when clearly no one can stand his music. However, this theory ended up being confirmed. In episode PL 1413, it is revealed that one day after Squidward's death, the whole world recognizes his music as a masterpiece. His art is celebrated, studied, and admired, and Squidward goes down in history as the greatest artist who ever existed. The cruelest detail is that no one appreciated his effort while he was alive. But anyway, let's move on to the last mention. Bikini Bottom is based on Bikini Atoll. This is probably the most famous and most disturbing theory in all of SpongeBob. The idea is simple but powerful. Bikini Bottom isn't a random place, but is directly inspired by Bikini Atoll, a real place in the Pacific Ocean that the United States used in the 1940s and 1950s as a nuclear testing site. I mean, atomic bombs like crazy. Really insane. According to this theory, those tests caused mutations in the marine animals of the area, which would explain why in Bikini Bottom, there are fish that walk, talk, work, pay rent, and have existential crises. They're not normal fish, they're fish mutated by radiation. For years, this was just a fan theory, until in 2021, the uncomfortable proof arrived. In the Patrick Star Show, in the episode Who's a Big Boy? Patrick travels to Bikini Bottom in the 1940s, and there, they don't beat around the bush. Signs literally saying nuclear test zone appear, along with mannequins set up for explosion simulations. And if that wasn't enough, this theory also perfectly explains Sandy. During the real nuclear tests, on Bikini Atoll, it's known that there were squirrels aboard United States Navy ships. The result? A mutated squirrel living under the sea wearing a suit. Because without it, she literally couldn't exist. I mean, Sandy went from being an accidental experiment to conducting experiments herself. And what about the constant explosions in the series? Those explosions that just happen for no reason and nobody explains. They weren't just innocent jokes. No, they were actually clues that we were watching mutated fish. And in case there was any doubt, in 2024, SpongeBob's own team confirmed that yes, Bikini Bottom is directly inspired by Bikini Atoll and its history of nuclear testing. So we weren't crazy. We were watching a cartoon born from radiation. And well, after accepting that SpongeBob could be immortal, that Patrick might be a manipulator expelled from the FBI, and that Squidward was just a misunderstood genius, there's only one question left. What the hell happened to the show after its creator was no longer here to protect it? And here we come to the most controversial theory of all, Steven Hillenburg's vision and the future of SpongeBob. The last true SpongeBob theory. It's not about time travel, nor about conspiracies within Bikini Bottom, but about something much more real. The conflict between Steven Hillenburg's original vision and the direction the franchise took after his passing. For years, the most hardcore fans have mercilessly criticized how SpongeBob changed after its creator's death. For many, the show lost the soul and original intent that made it special. One of the moments that set the internet on fire was the collaboration with Wendy's, which caused massive outrage among SpongeBob's most loyal fans, because it was just turning into marketing. But that was just the beginning of the problem. The real conflict exploded with the arrival of multiple spin-offs, spin-off series, prequels, parallel universes, and pure crap they threw at us. Because let's be honest, all of that goes completely against the wishes of Steven Hillenburg. In fact, Paul Tevitt openly stated that these expansions did not represent the vision that Steven Hillenburg had for the Sea Sponge. And even if it bothers Nickelodeon, SpongeBob should have ended at some point. And even though they keep milking it, for many people it already died along with Hillenburg. But, well, there are always those weirdos who defend the expansion even though it's terrible. They argue that Hillenburg would have been proud to see how far his creation has come. This discussion gained momentum in 2021 when Vincent Waller, the creative director of SpongeBob, explained that Steven Hillenburg was indeed aware of the spin-offs before he passed away, and that he even felt sad for not being able to see them become a reality. And this calmed some people down, but not many others. And to this day, a large part of the community still believes that the spin-offs directly contradict the original spirit of the series, and that SpongeBob became something its creator would have never fully approved of. So, are spin-offs and prequels a natural evolution of a beloved work or just a sign of disrespect? And with this, all the SpongeBob theories come to an end, which, as crazy as they sounded, turned out to be true. Now tell us in the comments, which one blew your mind the most? And subscribe and give it a like, because Bikini Bottom still has more secrets than it seems.